Welcome, everyone, to the final edition to Rocky Top Review for this season. Rocky Top Review always presented by CHI Memorial. Hello, human kindness. I'm your host, sitting in for Steve Hartline, Stephen Shelton, along with my tag team partners, as always, Jason Cox and Josh Rogers, rejoining us after absentee last week. We won't count it, but gentlemen, tough week for the Vols last week. A lot of things going on off the field, on the field. Didn't look great at South Carolina. That's an understatement. South Carolina scored the most points of a non-ranked AP team versus a ranked top 5 AP team in college football history. Jason Cox, not a good Saturday night.
No, it wasn't. In all my years of being a Tennessee fan, this is the most disgusting loss I've ever been through.
Wow.
The 2001 SEC championship loss to LSU, which we'd beaten by 3 touchdowns earlier in the season, that was pretty bad, but that was the SEC championship game. We lost to both South Carolina and Vanderbilt in 2015, I think it was, when we had the SEC championship on the line and the Sugar Bowl on the line. We lost both those games. Those were difficult too, but this one, this was the college football playoff.
It was.
And we absolutely laid an egg. I think, most Tennessee fans there's almost no words for how bad it was.
I'll go back to what I said last week before the game even was played. I think you have to understand expectations. And if I said in June, Jason, we're going 10-2, we're going to beat Alabama, we're going to beat Florida, you would have said.
Absolutely. I'll take the L to South Carolina.
And no matter who the L's are to, it's a great season. 10-2, you build off that. I know that when Kirby Smart took over Georgia, the first season or so wasn't a great season. I went back and in every game Kirby's coached since being at Georgia, and I've got a few games here that I'm sure Josh doesn't want to relive because I know he's about to fire off at us.
Yes, he
for
is.
last week's game. So I'll just leave it there, Joshua. I do have bullets in the holster and ready to fire away. If, sir, you want to play this game, go right ahead. I am locked and ready.
For the first half, Carolina could be competitive. South Carolina doesn't score the football very well.
Going
not
into that
very
game.
effective.
All true.
All
and
true.
not very efficient.
All very true.
Tennessee by 30.
All very true.
Tennessee scores 40-plus points.
Almost true.
Almost.
Shane Beamer is a pretender.
He is.
Those were quotes that were on this show last week.
I'm
that
sticking
I
with
wasn't
the Shane. Actually, you missed one. Shane Beamer is the current Butch Jones of the
And
SEC.
I wasn't going to say that. But, those are all quotes by YouTube because I couldn't stop you guys from saying that last week. I thought that it was a perfect storm for Tennessee to kind of lose. They everyone in the entire country going into this game thought Tennessee was just going to blow out South Carolina. It was at home. Shelton even said this last week that, hey, look, it is a hard place to play over in Columbia.
Not 60 points hard, but yeah, you're right.
It's not. And I think the best thing that you said so far today was expectations versus reality. When we started this season, Hartline asked us, what do you think Tennessee record's going to be? What do you think Tennessee could do? What this, that, and the other? And there was somebody in this room that said Tennessee was going to go 10-2, and that was me.
Yeah.
I didn't pick. I said they would lose to Georgia, but South Carolina wasn't my other loss. It was Alabama.
No, it was not.
picked
No,
us
I
to beat
Kentucky.
Alabama.
I did. It was
No,
Kentucky.
Kentucky and
Give
Georgia.
yourself
You said
some credit,
Kentucky.
Rogers.
Yeah, it
Kentucky
was.
and Georgia.
Yeah.
And I did say that you're right.
Yeah.
Here's the thing is that for a Tennessee team, Tennessee fans get really hyped up, and they should. This whole feeling like 98 again and first ranked in the college football playoff, and after so many years of being bad, where was Tennessee ranked last year, or the year before that, or the year before that, or even the year before that in the college football playoffs at the end of the year? 25th maybe, not ranked a bunch. They're ranked 10th right now with 1 week to play. And with the teams that could lose, Tennessee still has an opportunity to move up the board. I mean, they could still end up at 9 or 8
11 to
by the
win
end of-
Tennessee better be above an LSU team that has 3 losses at the end of the year,
Right.
and above an Alabama team.
And so for me, real quick, Tennessee is back. Even with this loss,
great
Tennessee
lead-in.
is absolutely back. They will continue to build on this as long as Heupel is there. But this loss right here, sometimes you got to look. Even though you've had these big wins against Alabama and Florida and everyone else, sometimes you got to get your chops licked a little bit and got to get hit a little bit. and all the internal turmoil that will change. But Tennessee's back.
They
for
got
all
their chops
intents and
licked. They got them
purposes.
salted and licked twice while they're over there in South Carolina.
Yeah.
This goes through, and I'll just talk to Georgia real quick. The second year Kirby Smart was in Georgia, he got them to number 2 in the nation.
Yep.
Okay. On November 11th, 2017, they went to Auburn and got waxed 40-17. They come back the next year. So that's going to be a lead-in. The same thing happened on a game they should have just killed Auburn. They go to the Plains and get dominated in every facet of that game. But we're going to do a little something different here. I've got questions, and we're going to go. I've not shared. If you're listening online, or if you're listening on your phone, oh, here we go. If you're listening on your phone, if you're listening on the radio, or if you're watching mixedtv.tv, now Mr. Rogers has looks like a target with Steve Hartline's face on it. It's his senior year picture there they've brought out for some reason. So questions, and we'll do 3 of these, and we'll break, and we'll come back for the final 6 or 7 that I have for you. Mississippi State 7-4 travels to Ole Miss 8-3 tonight, 7:00 ESPN. Does Lane Kiffin stay at Ole Miss? Jason Cox.
No way.
No chance.
Nope.
Any lands?
Auburn.
Absolutely
Josh Rogers.
not. He's staying in Ole Miss for at least another year or 2. He's said it this week. They've put those reports out that
And he's willing to
gonna
believe.
go.
He's his
And-
track record. Yeah,
and
no,
I
that-
understand. But they've put those reports out. He said that he's got a lot of good kids coming in and coming back, and I think he really wants to win at LSU. He hasn't been able to
At
really
Ole Miss.
he wants to win at Ole Miss. He hasn't really been able to do that. He wants to get to that 10-2. He wants to beat the Alabamas and move up. So no, he doesn't.
He's bored with Oxford. He's ready to find something else.
Well, number 3, Michigan travels to Columbus to play Ohio State. This game is probably already over. 12:00 Fox. Does the loser still get in the college football playoff? Josh Rogers.
No, they don't. So I think that the loser moves out. If TCU stays winning, then TCU stays. LSU will move up to 4. They will lose against Georgia, and then you'll have USC slide in the back door.
But if USC gets beat in the championship game,
If USC gets beat, and if you get TCU that gets beat, then it's a no-hold-barred match of
Then
who
it's
it is.
Clemson?
It could be Clemson.
the ACC champs has to get in at that point,
I mean, you would think so.
or does Michigan slide back in?
It depends on how close that game is against Ohio State. And the thing is that we're sitting here talking about Michigan being the one that loses to Ohio State. I don't know if that happens. I think that Michigan could beat Ohio State, and then you're sitting there talking about Ohio State, the darling of all the college football talking heads. Do they stay in at 4? And at that point, then I would say yes, both teams would be in.
Number 5, LSU. That's just hard for me to say. After watching them, they're not very good. Number 5, LSU, 9-2, travels to Texas A&M to a stadium that holds 100,000. They'll tell you they sold 100,000, but only 25,000 showing up. 4-7, 7:00 ESPN. This game just kicked off, if you're listening, or about to kick off in about an hour and a half, if you're listening. With a loss, is Jimbo Fisher packing his bags and leaving Texas A&M? Jason Cox.
No, I don't think so. I think there's $89 million on the line that say he won't be packing his bags. Jimbo Fisher's a good coach. I would love to. There'll be a 30 for 30 one day on what happened to that team and in that program. It's probably NIL would be my guess, and just the divisions in the locker room with that. But I think with 89 million reasons to keep him, I think at least for this year he survives, and maybe next year he gets the $80 million golden parachute. I'm not sure, but I don't think he's
14 14 players have already hit the transfer portal.
Yeah.
13 of the 14 are either 4 or 5 stars. Does Jimbo Fisher get to keep his job because we're talking about oil money, if they lose tonight and finish 4-8?
Yeah, Jimbo stays for one more year at least. I think I agree with you, Jason. $89 million. It's just one of the steepest buyouts that you could absolutely see. I think that he hasn't done enough to be a winner this year. I think that you have a lot of young players. That's why they were. I mean, you got to remember too, they've been the number 1 through number 4 recruiting class the past 2 years, and so with them coming in, they've got another top recruiting class coming in next year. I think that it's just all about. I think Jimbo stays. Offense, defensive coordinator will probably get changed out. But no, I think Jimbo stays at least one more year, if not 2.
We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Rocky Top Review on Mix 104.1 WCLE and also MixTV.tv. Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial. Hello, human kindness. We'll be back in 1 minute. Hello and welcome back to segment 2 of Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial. I'm Stephen Shelton along with Jason Cox and the commissioner, Josh Rogers. Let's move on down to the Iron Bowl. Auburn comes in at 5-6, Alabama 9-2. It's a 3:30 CBS kick. Again, this game should be wrapping up just about now. This is a two-part question. If Auburn, part one, we'll go both segments here. If Auburn wins, does Cadillac Williams become the next head coach of the Auburn Tigers?
If Cadillac Williams is not the next head coach at Auburn, then whoever the new AD is and all their boosters and everything, they should just go find a new team. Cadillac Williams is Auburn through and through. He is a coach. You know, there's this whole issue right now with Jeff Saturday never being a coach before. He coached at Hebron Christian Academy in Decula, Georgia. That's where he only had his only head coaching experience, was a very small Christian academy, and now he goes into the NFL. Look at what he's doing. Cadillac Williams is Auburn through and through. He is a coach. He is a leader of men. And Cadillac Williams goes in, even if he loses against Alabama, they should give him a chance. Give him a 2-year prove-it deal and wait and see. I think they want Lane Kiffin. I think they want some bigger named coaches like that. But Cadillac Williams is good for SEC football and good for Auburn football.
Hey, Coach Caddy, as they call him on Twitter, I don't think they win this weekend, but if they do, I would give him the job. If they don't, I don't see that happening. I think Auburn's got their eyes set on bigger fish, Lane Kiffin for one, but others as well. And I mean, Coach Cadillac Williams is awesome. He's a great dude. Here's what I hope happens. I hope they don't hire him. I hope Rodney Garner gets his rodeo out and sends a rope down there and pulls Caddy up to Knoxville, and he's our running back coach next year, because he's an awesome dude, and everybody's seen the online stuff about him, and he'd be great to have on your coaching staff.
Second part of that question, if Auburn wins this game, and I'll start with Jason on this one, if Auburn wins this game, how quickly does Alabama fire both coordinators?
It'll be a leave him on the tarmac situation. They're so mad at Pete Golden down there right now. Anyways, I'm not sure, he'll make it out of the stadium. It would be quick. It would be in a hurry. And, I don't know. I don't know how much longer Coach Saban, they're not going to fire Coach Saban, but I don't know how much longer he's got in him. If they lose, he might pull a Steve Spurrier and say, I'm out of here.
Well, he just signed, another 10-year deal this year to coach for another 10 years. Saban's going to be there till he dies. I mean, that's just kind of what's going to happen. I think that you look at some of those coaches that they have down there. O'Brien, right? He's our offensive coordinator. Yep. I think you look at him maybe taking another job. There's going to be some jobs that come available. Obviously, I think you look at him taking a smaller Division I type school, whether it's Big 10 or Big 12 type school. But Golden, he's done. They should just leave him in Tuscaloosa and send the movers over to his house and tell him to pack up. The abomination of that, what is Alabama's defense this year, is something to behold. They have gone from probably them and Georgia being the two best defenses that you could ever imagine and ever see, and that offense has just been so consistent. To them being one of the worst defenses that I've seen literally all year long.
Alabama's defense made our defense look okay.
That is true.
And South Carolina put 63 points on Tennessee's defense.
So
that
okay.
tells you a lot.
And so last question about Auburn, and we'll move on. Who then do you believe, because Auburn's wanting to hit a home run with this hire. They think LSU went and hit a home run. They think Ole Miss hit a home run. They're looking for a home run hire. So with this, Auburn hires, and I'll give you a few options, or you can go other and give me why. Deion Sanders, Cadillac Williams, Lane Kiffin, Hugh Freeze, Urban Meyer, or other. Jason Cox?
Well, I think it's. I mean, I think the answer is Kiffin. But let's say you take him off the board. He's. I think he's who most people would say. I would say Deion Sanders. I think.
Wow.
I think that's the splash hire. I think it would be the wrong hire, but I do think that would be the splash hire. He would instantly get a lot of attention to Auburn University. I think he would recruit well early on, and so I think that's the name that would fall to if Kiffin said no.
They hire two coaches. Deion Sanders would be the head coach, and I think that he brings in someone like Cadillac to either be an offensive coordinator, player development, someone who can show him the ropes of what Auburn football means. I mean, remember Deion, he goes to Jackson State, HBCU, but other than that, I mean, he's not an SEC guy. I mean, he played in the ACC. So to be able to, he's from this area, he understands what it is. But no, I think that Deion Sanders, if there's any coach out there, I think that from your list, it's either Deion, Caddy, or other. I don't think Hugh Freeze is going to go there. I think he stays.
So this question builds off the previous question. If Deion Sanders does not end up in Auburn, which would be the largest job available for him, does he A, stay with Jackson State, B, go to South Florida, who he's already met with, C, Colorado State, who's after him big time, or D, could he end up in Ole Miss if Lane Kiffin ends up in Auburn? Josh Rogers.
Oh, I think that Ole Miss would definitely be a big possibility. I think there's talk that Hugh Freeze is going to come back to Ole Miss if Lane Kiffin doesn't. I think they're done with Hugh Freeze.
It'd be hard. It'd be like,
I mean, just imagine. It's not like you're hiring, like Freeze didn't leave there on good terms, right? I mean,
no.
He left there because he was fired. It's not like Phil Fulmer coming back to coach 3 or 4 games for a season after you have a coach. That's not what it is. I think that he could go to Ole Miss, but I think he looks even at. He doesn't want to go to the NFL. I mean, he wants to coach. He wants to grow men from kids to NFL players. But with Jeff Saturday going up to the Colts and doing what he's doing, I could see Deion going after maybe an NFL job that could open up as well.
Last question for the last break of the 2022 campaign for Rocky Top Review. And this question is kind of off the cuff, but biggest surprise of the college football season from the East Coast to the West Coast. What says you, Josh Rogers?
Tennessee being as good as they are. I truly think that it's a surprise to all Tennessee fans. I think that every fan group that there is out there in the world, I believe that Georgia's going to win a national championship every year. I believe the Braves are going to win the World Series every year, and it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. For a coach to be on his second year at Tennessee, to be coaching a 6th year, 7th, 8th year quarterback senior, right? I mean, he's had eligibility, COVID, everything else. To have Hendon Hooker be as good as he was this year after the kind of year that he had last year, and Tennessee to be a 10-2 team, 11-2, whatever it is, I think that is probably them coming out and being number 1 in the playoff rankings to begin with. I don't think it's a surprise. I think that Tennessee, I think it's so achievable. I will mark it down, write it down today. Tennessee will win a national championship in the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. They will. I think that they have the great capability to do that. But that would be my biggest surprise so far this year.
I'll say Texas A&M and how bad they are, equally as good as Tennessee has come out of nowhere to be good. Texas A&M has come out of nowhere to be maybe the worst team in the SEC. And I just don't, I'd love to know the inner workings of that, what happened. Jimbo Fisher's a great coach, I think. He's a quarterback guy, and their quarterback play has been awful. So I think that's my answer, although I like Josh's answer too, and I hope he's right on the national championship in 5 years. But I'll go with Texas A&M and just how horrible they've been.
And let me say this real quick too, very fast. My other biggest surprise is Georgia, and I know that, but for Georgia to lose as many people as they did on defense to the NFL draft, to lose as many people as they did on offense, it is very difficult for you to go back-to-back national championship opportunities. They've been the number one ranked team other than Tennessee. They're going to probably go in this college football playoff as the number one ranked team, and they have a very good shot to go back and win another national championship. To do that back-to-back years, that is very difficult, and it's very surprising to me.
Don't you think that speaks to the recruiting? I mean, just Georgia stacking
Culture.
number one player or number one class after number one class, and they lose that defensive class last year that was just, I mean, historic.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody thought they would be. I mean, we all thought they would be really competitive and maybe competing for an SEC title, but
Sure.
I don't think many people were saying national championship again, and yet they placed themselves right there again. It just talent is so very important to have on your roster, and not just your starters, but on down the list.
Through the depth chart. Yeah, so for me, and sorry, real quick, for me, it is about the culture. It is about that. It's the next man up mentality. It is you win every down, you win every play, you do the right things, and that's what Tennessee is building right now. They've got some culture pieces that they've got to fix. This Jeremy Banks situation, they've got to figure this out. But when they do, that's what will bring Tennessee forward, and they will be a competitive team every single year. And that's what Florida's lost. Florida's lost their culture. They've got to bring it back too.
We'll be back in about 2 minutes. You're listening and watching Rocky Top Review on Mix 104.1 WCLE and MixTV.tv. Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial. Welcome back to the last segment of Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial for the 2022 calendar year. I'm Stephen Shelton along with Jason Cox and the commissioner, Josh Rogers. Gentlemen, if Tennessee wins tonight in Nashville, by the way, it's sold out. Tennessee is the only team to have had every road game sold out this season, which tells you either one, about their fan base traveling, or two, about the hatred of Tennessee football around the nation. Either way, Tennessee finishes 10-2 this season. What does it take for them to repeat next season as a 9, 10, or 11 win team to solidify themselves as, again, a top 20 or top 15 program in the nation? Jason Cox.
It's quarterback play. The answer's got to be quarterback play. Can Joe Milton do it next year? And if not, who can? I mean, obviously, Nico Iamaleava is coming in. They're high on him, but he'll be a freshman. You know, can Taven Jackson do it? So my answer, and I think it's the right answer, is quarterback play. Hendon Hooker has been amazing. Thank you, Hendon. You've been great. But who's going to take the mantle next year?
Josh Rogers.
How many balls did Jalen Hyatt catch over the summer? What was it, like 50,000?
Oh, it was ridiculous, yeah.
That's what Joe Milton needs to do this next year. He needs to throw 50,000 footballs 10 yards down the field. That's it. We know that he can throw it 100 yards down from one end to the other, but he needs to work on his touch. He needs to work on his pass. But the big thing, like we said in the previous segment, was that culture. They just have to continue to get their guys in there, the people that they want. The South Carolina loss hurt them a little bit in recruiting, I believe. I think you see that, and there's going to be some guys who say, Tennessee doing Tennessee things again. I don't want to go and do when they could go to a Georgia or an Alabama, because that's where they are now. They're competing with the Texas A&Ms, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the big name schools. So I think culture, and then Joe Willie seeing how he can throw, Joe Millie seeing how he can throw that football.
Secondary to that would be our defensive secondary. They have got to fix that. You can listen to shows earlier in the year, and we all talked about it. And it really, we've been able to mask it some, but man, it is awful. It's bad. That's Division II talent back there. They have to upgrade that somehow. Transfer portal, freshman guys coming in, whatever you got to do. McDonald's bags. Let's get it done. Got to upgrade that defensive secondary.
Absolutely. I think that they will have to that point about the defense, I think Tennessee will have a new defense coordinator next season. I do not think that Banks comes back as defense coordinator. I also think that the Tennessee, the fan base owes Hendon Hooker a great deal of gratitude and thanks because of where he found this program. Listen, it was a match made in heaven. Virginia Tech didn't want Hendon Hooker, go find somewhere else to play, and they were talking about go to James Madison, go to some schools that we think you could make an impact on. He comes, and I still think, although he will not play the last game and a half, I still think he gets an invitation to New York at the Heisman.
He should.
If there's just no way an ACL should keep you from at least attending. I'm not saying you should win, from attending that, there's no way he should not, unless we have a wide receiver in Nashville that catches 7 touchdown passes tonight. That could put him right there with it. Regardless of that fact, we owe Hendon Hooker, his family, his belief in Tennessee to come, and not only his belief but his willingness to learn a brand new offense under Coach Heupel, and do that with such success and such passion and such professionalism. He was really the torch carrier for that university for the last 2 seasons, and can wish him nothing but the best moving on. Last question of this campaign, and I think we have the same question every year.
Do we have to do this next year?
Who wins? No. Who wins the national championship? I've got Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, or another. And if you say it, someone else, give me the reason why. Josh Rogers.
It's going to be the Dogs.
Okay, moving on.
It's going to be Georgia.
Jason Cox.
Well,
Pick 'em, Pastor.
I hadn't thought too much about it. I'm going to say Ohio State. I'm going to say they win this weekend. They've been knocking on the door for a while. Ryan Day is, he's not quite been able to get over the hump. And so I don't really disagree with Josh. I think if you're going to come at the king, you better not miss.
You're right.
But it's hard to go back to back. Very few teams have done it over the years of my life watching big time football. And so I'm going to pick somebody other than Georgia. And why not? Let's go Ohio State.
Ohio State. Well, guys, I've enjoyed it.
Is that who you're picking?
Who?
Ohio State.
No.
Who are you picking?
Am I picking?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know who's going to get in. I think LSU beats Georgia in the SEC
You're
championship
so
game.
full of crap.
Alabama. He's picking
I've
Alabama.
said all season, and I've said this since week 1. Georgia and Ohio State are on a different level. I think, and I've said that even before Tennessee made their run and beat Alabama. I just think that Ohio State and Georgia, I think they will play for national championship. I don't know who wins that game because mathematically and physically, Ryan Day has put players that should be in the SEC in Ohio State uniforms.
And they're horrible. Have you seen their past 3 games?
A great game. Again, you asked me who I picked. You didn't try to tell me. Don't try to persuade me one way or the other. I just, it's just hard for me to swallow that after 50 or 60 years, Georgia may win more than one national championship. I'm sorry. Hey guys, it's been fantastic. It has been so. This is so much fun. I know we get at each other, and I think some people believe we really, when we leave here, we're mad, but it's all in good fun. And I've had a great time doing this the last 6 or 7 years. I think this is going to be my last one.
No,
same. I'm done.
No. This is it. This is it for me.
I just sent my resignation.
I think that. Listen. Shows progress, and you need new faces and new blood and new voices, and I just think that it's that time, and I think you two will do a great job next year.
I'm out. I said I'm out from the beginning of the season.
Yeah, but you're only a Georgia fan in Cleveland. We're going to keep one here, so
we'll find another one.
I don't know. By this time, listen. This time next year, Josh will have a bundle of joy. He should be here in the next week or so. Little
Josh.
No, unfortunately, that's not what they're calling.
Say her name. Say her name.
Lily. And so
say her name. Say her full name.
Lily.
Say her full name.
G. Lily.
Georgia Lillian.
G. Lily, Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia Lillian.
Georgia.
Yeah, hope she spells it wrong the whole time. Anyways, Jason, it's been fun as always. Jason got a lot of life changes coming ahead of him. Josh, you're about to have a lot of life changes in front of you. 3 little girls in the house. Godspeed. But no, for Steve Hartline, CHI Memorial, we couldn't do this without them, of course. They're the only people that will sponsor this show, so it's without them, this wouldn't happen. So hopefully you guys need to visit them so they can stay in business. But no, it's been great. It's been fun. It's finally fun to talk about Tennessee football and not have to dread coming in and doing this. I hope next year is nothing short of that for you guys. But hey, for Josh Rogers, for Jason Cox, for Steve Hartline, who's only here 6 or 7 weeks out of the full season, I'm Stephen Shelton. For the last time, go Vols and off to the Vol Network.